My name is Alice Murray, and I currently serve as your Director of Care and Hospitality, but soon to be no longer pastoral intern, but just pastor, and I'm so very thankful and excited for that. We have been attending here for a little over 11 years. We actually came here for a wedding and we're really just impressed with it and decided to visit the next week, and we never went anywhere else. This has always felt like home for us. 6 years ago when I started the micro program, I was not on staff here. I was in a time in between things in my life where I knew I wasn't supposed to be a teacher anymore and that I was supposed to be more involved with the church and with God. And so we had just started the micro program, and I was approached about coming on to staff to teach high school ministry. And at first it scared me a little bit because I was used to the littles, but was really excited to try something different. So 5 years ago I came on as the coordinator for high school ministry, and then started teaching children's ministry, and then director of family ministry, and then stepped up to pastoral care. So I think that's been a huge advantage for me because I've seen different areas of the church. I am married to my husband Eric. We were high school sweethearts, and we just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary. So yeah, he puts up with me, but one of the best things about this whole pastoral journey is that he has edited every one of my papers that I've turned in for seminary. And it's been so life-giving to our marriage because every month we've had a theological conversation about what I've learned. We have two great kiddos. Our son Noah is 19, soon to be 20, and our daughter Avery is 16. And we are just very lucky to have them in our lives. They are great kids who have been so supportive of this journey of mine, and really encouraged me and prayed with me and been there every step of the way.
I'm John Mazinski, one of the pastoral interns here, soon to be Pastor John. That's hard to swallow yet. I've been a member at St. Mark's almost 42 years and been Lutheran longer than anything else in my life. I met my wife Chris on a church trip to Germany during the 500th anniversary of Martin Luther. I had traveled with, or been in a small group with her brother, a confirmation leader. I've done confirmation, I've done Sunday school, I've done some adult classes here. But the confirmation leader and his family adopted me on that trip, and after 10 days, we were practically family, and then just a few months later, I really joined the family. So Chris and I have been married 9 years this summer, and I can't wait for many, many more. I started this, I'll say, seminary journey on a trip in Greece in the footsteps of Paul, and one of the people at the table asked, "What are you going to do next when you retire?" And I'd been at Rockwell and was ready to retire after 35 years. If you've seen the Top Gun movies, I'm the guy that put the radios on those planes. I had a lot of fun in that career, and what was next was still up in the air. And so starting this journey with Alice and Michele and Jason and others has been very eye-opening and enlightening, and I just can't imagine doing anything else with my life right now.
Hi, my name is Michele Jones, and I'm also pastoral intern, soon to be Pastor Michele, and I serve as Director of Missions here at St. Mark's. My husband and I and our family, we were the last actually membership class when the church was down on First Avenue before we came to the facility out here. My kids went through Sunday school, confirmation, and our daughter was married here at St. Mark's as well. So Mike and I have been married 31 years almost. Prior to coming to staff, my husband and I, we also have a small business. And so I've been on staff, it'll be 2 years this July. And that was a big decision because I loved working with my husband, and but I couldn't deny that call to work in missions. That's a real big passion of mine, stemming back from going to Haiti back in 2016. And that's really been my journey to become pastor as well, how God has captured my heart through serving others, especially outside our church walls.
I don't know about you all, but my favorite book that we've read in all of the years of seminary and all the classes we've taken is this one, The Power of the Blood Covenant by Malcolm Smith. You can see I would have been better off probably highlighting the things I didn't think were important in this book, but I have used this book so often when having conversations with people about how amazing this covenant is that, you know, we have with Jesus and how loved we are by him. It talks about baptism. It talks about just so many cool things. And every time I read it, I just feel closer to Jesus and how much he loves me.
And it explained it in such a relatable way,
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Even though it's theological.
Yeah, very easy to read.
Yeah.
One of the last classes we took, three people said that was their favorite book through seminary.
Seminary, yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're right on that.
Well, it's all about the relationship we get invited to with Jesus.
I had two favorites, but another favorite besides that one, you stole that one first.
Sorry.
Is we had a Dietrich Bonhoeffer class, and if you're not familiar with him, he was a theologian during Nazi Germany, and just the stance that he took for the church and what was right, and then gave his life for it. But his writings, he's another one of those deep theological thinkers, but he writes in such a way, because this is all of his writings, that you can understand.
Absolutely.
And it just, understanding Jesus' grace and what our responsibility is with that grace, he really touches on that a lot.
Yeah. Very moving to visit his house maybe 10 years ago to see how he was right in the middle of Berlin and right in the midst of them and yet hiding his true feelings.
And again, so deep, but you could understand it. And then you could think about it in our own life. If we were put under the same trial, would we be able to profess our faith and be so strong in it like he was?
Yes. And go to his death.
And go to his death, exactly. Yeah. And then I also had the Sabbath. Abraham Heschel, we read a couple of his books, and his just understanding what the Sabbath means biblically. This was a short, easy read, but was really impactful for me as well.
Well, Michele has shamed me into not using a call here. However, I was never sure about...
I was confused on which
Yeah.
book it was. I thought it was one of our most undesirable
books.
books. Troubling.
But this was more about why you felt called to serve. And perhaps that was the part I was struggling with, being too much of a retired engineer. So my favorite books were Reading the Gospels Wisely, one of our very first ones, because the gospel is so fundamental to the rest of the Bible. Everything props up on that. And then not only the hardest book, but maybe the best one for us, this Elements of Biblical Exegesis, which is a $5 word for how to figure out what the Bible is really saying to you in context. And we spent months and months and months going over Philemon, all 25 verses of it, but we've used it over and over again to understand how to read the Bible, how to interpret it. And so that's crucial to me.
So it was 6 years ago, which is hard to believe, that we started
6
this
years.
journey in the micro program. And I don't know about you guys, but I didn't know what I was really starting. I knew that I wanted to learn more. Especially I was really involved in missions at the time, and to be able to feel more equipped leadership-wise, spiritually-wise, and theologically-wise in what I was doing. So that was kind of the first step to going through this whole program that we've done the last 6 years, for me anyway.
Yeah, for me I was called a church rat by a previous pastor here, because I was here all the time, and yet I had no depth. I had no ability to lead others and to understand deeper. I had to go deeper. And so for me, I started just as a learner, just to try and learn more about what was going on in the Bible.
Yeah, and for me, when I started the micro, I knew I was being called to do more at the church and to teach in a different way. I had been involved in confirmation ministry, and I kept hearing every time I came, why aren't you teaching in my house? Because at the time I was teaching in the public schools. And so I thought, well, this is just a great way to learn more and to be more effective as a leader here at the church. And then God just really got a hold of me. When we started, I didn't know if I'd go on to get the masters that we're about ready to finish, or if I would want to be a pastor. But it was pretty early on as we started growing as a cohort and going deeper and learning more about all the things that we were exposed to, and growing as a family in our group, that I thought, I can't not do this.
But not knowing you guys at the start, and then how close and how much we have gone through to get to this point has just strengthened our relationship.
Absolutely.
I think the first time it felt different to me was behind the altar in faith, to be in that spot and leading others in worship. There are many non-standout moments, like during COVID as we were prepping for sermons and I had to take the Lord's Prayer 8 times because I could never get it right. and that was a struggle, but the standout moments are worshiping with others.
Yeah, it's hard to pick a moment where things just were, like, I can't believe I get to do this, because I still feel like I get those moments every time we get to lead worship or do a baptism or a wedding or a funeral. It's just such an amazing thing to be invited into someone's life that way. But a real standout moment was a couple years ago for during Holy Week, with preparing for everything and getting into that season when we did an Ash Wednesday service. And we got to, as interns, kind of plan that and then lead that together. And you and I got to preach together, and to have 2 women in ministry with some of the challenges we'd faced going into this career and this season of life, to be able to stand and do that together and have all of us involved in some way. We really got to plan it and do it and own it.
Yeah. And I don't have a public speaking background, so that first sermon, I didn't know what to expect. Yeah. I was sort of dreading it in one way, but then after I finished it, I was like, oh, I can do this. I feel equipped too, and so that was really, really exciting. But I'll tell you guys, a couple weeks ago, when this whole idea of things coming to an end here, and the whole idea of being ordained and being finished and being a pastor, just the privilege and the responsibility, it was sort of overwhelming to me just to think about it, to with God's help, make it through this whole thing, because it wasn't easy.
It's not easy.
But then to come to this end and then have that awesome responsibility and privilege. On behalf of John and Alice and I'd just like to thank the congregation for the support you have given us through the last 6 years, from that first sermon that we did to where we are now. We just want to thank you for supporting and encouraging us along the way.